Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Candy Coated Secrets. Make sure when you get in here, you give me a heart and a thumbs up and you share the show. And go tell your friends to tell all their friends that Miss Vibrations is here live tonight, getting everything together. I have a lovely guest, someone that you guys got to meet from the other night on the Speakeasy show. Okay. So, like I said, go ahead, share the show, share it to your friends, share it to Candy Coated Secrets Facebook group, and make sure you just sit here. Like, everything is not going to be for everybody, and we're okay with that. So, those who need it will be here for it because I want to get into some things. We're going to get into some real things. Some of y'all like to really get into a bunch of foolishness, but that's one thing. That's neither here nor there. Because I even tapped into the foolishness spirit today because I got on a Jezebel red. I was trying this red nail polish. I never wear red nail polish, okay? And all my life, I only wore red nail polish 2 times. And I think that probably goes with, all that childhood stuff that people give you, talking about what you shouldn't do. And red is for the whores and the Jezebels. So, my mama ain't let me wear red. But, now that I'm up here embracing my inner, you all know I don't know what this means when I do this, but I'm embracing my inner. Okay, so that's how I'm feeling today. So I'm not going to look at red as being the little scarlet. I'm going to look at it as power. How about that?
That's
Let's
right.
change how we're looking at it. So red is
That,
power today, and I was feeling pretty powerful today. I had a great day. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my lovely guest all the way from Texas. Hi, how are you?
hello.
What's going on?
Just, enjoying life and enjoying the elevation and vibrations.
Yeah, I like that. Yes. So we didn't really get to chit chat last week because there was so many glitches and things like that. But we're not gonna let that disturb us today. We're gonna jump right on in and get into
Okay.
everything. But before we do that, because there was such some delays and issues, can you reintroduce yourself and tell everyone about you, what you do? Because she has so many certifications, so the sister knows what she's talking about. Okay, let's start there. So go ahead and introduce yourself while I do what I do. Okay.
Okay. My name is Kizzy Williams. I am an associate minister where I worship. I also am a certified temperance counselor. I have my bachelor's degree in Christian counseling. I have my bachelor's and my master's in biblical studies. And for my profession, I am a compliance.
Would you say your profession is what?
My daily profession is a compliance analyst, where I,
Okay.
I monitor banking transactions for the anti money laundering department. So
Okay. So she's a woman that wear many hats. Okay. You do it all. You do everything. So just I want to know from my own inquiring minds, like how did you get into ministry, like being a minister, because you know how we always hear about that. We always think that the pastors and them they got to stay this way. They better not fall short.
right, right. Okay, so my story is a little bit different. I didn't necessarily grow up in the church. I grew up around the church, if that makes sense. My
Yeah.
grandma was a very church going woman, and she led the choir, and she was on the she just did everything in the church she could do to whatever her hands find to do, that's what she did. And she always taught us the Bible. She always read us the Bible at night. And my mother, on the other hand, is so funny that you named your nail color Jezebel or whatever you were calling yourself at that moment, because that was the nickname they gave my mother when she was growing up, was Jezebel.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
oh yes, yes, ma'am. Because she was so different, and she, bucked the system, and she, would challenge any authority that would come her way. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, she had determined when she was grown, she wasn't going to nobody's church
Yeah.
because they churched out. They was at church on Monday, at church on Tuesday, and so she was over going to church. And when she had my brother and I, mom's was doing her thing and living life, and um, I always knew I was supposed to do something different than what my family was doing, and I couldn't really figure it out. And
Yeah.
so um, I went to many different churches. I was a part of several different denominations. When God has a call in your life, you're trying to find the answer in people or in groups or in different worship centers, like I said.
Yeah.
And so I was a part of different churches. They recognized the anointing that was on my life. in the call that God had placed on my life. And every other pastor wanted me to be under their tutelage and a part of their congregation, not to cultivate the gift that God gave me, but to, for a lack of a better word, prostitute the gift because it draws people.
Okay.
And but they didn't let me know what God had done within me and was doing with me. So I was stayed very confused.
Yeah, yeah. I hear
So
I
I
hear
got
that today. A lot of people are confused about the religion and everything. Like me,
mm-hmm,
I'm more spiritual than I am religious. So I'm very,
absolutely.
for me, I'm so glad to actually have this conversation with an actual pastor. Because some people, when you want to have conversations because of what they're in that stature, they don't want to bend. They be like, I'm not about to sit down with this damn girl and goddamn talk to her. But it's people who really want to know these things. And I too was one of them for like a very long time. You know, doing
Mm-hmm.
things and believing in things and not knowing why I'm doing it, because that's just what I was raised up and taught. So I'm not doing any
Yep.
research on it. I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm just going off of what my grandmother, Big Mom, and everybody else said. And we not supposed to do this. Like I said, red or, piercing or any and everything. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
if we go by this Bible, we are not going to do anything. And it's like it makes you stuck sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
understand
No.
why. So I understand sometimes why people battle with it and they don't understand it. That's why I always say, you guys, everybody's a representation here on Candy Code Secrets of themselves. And even if we don't always agree or believe in some of the
Mm,
same things, we show you how you can have a healthy conversation, and not
absolutely.
feel like, oh, I don't like you because you don't believe what I believe.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, I ended up in the ministry that I'm in now because we needed marriage counseling, and the pastors recognized the anointing that was on my life, and they just began to ask me certain questions as far as the thoughts that I have and things that I hear in my spirit, and it's shocking. I'm like, how do they know? I'm hearing stuff in my spirit. What kind of voodoo are they doing? I wasn't familiar with it like that. Like I said, my mom's, we had the party house. And so my grandmother didn't talk a lot about, other than the Bible. She didn't talk about ministry and things like that because honestly, the education wasn't there back then. And
Okay.
so when the pastors that I serve under now recognize the anointing and the call on my life, what they said was very selfless. They said, we're going to help you cultivate it and help you pull that out should you answer your calling, because it's still your call to answer or reject. And everybody has a call to do something. So it's not just one call. You have a call to teach, you have a call to preach, you have a call to do your talk show. Everybody has a calling to do something, which is universal to eventually help each other.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. And I accepted my call and was ordained a licensed minister in 2016. And I've been really loving it ever since. I went back to school, like I said, and got the necessary degrees that I needed to have, because I wasn't going to accept God's call and speak foolishly and ignorantly. I wanted to be able to, if I'm going
Yeah.
to really do this and help people, I don't want to lead anybody astray. I don't want to manipulate the Bible. I don't want to um, make it fit my agenda, because a lot of pastors and preachers and ministers do that. Sad to say, they do. And
Yeah.
so there's I appreciate what you said, that if you go by the Bible, you can never have fun. You can't do anything. Well, that's the
Yeah.
way that it was taught,
Yeah.
because there's tons of fun. And I have I got a great life. I'm
Okay.
not in a box, and I tell everybody that don't put me in a box. Don't try to cage me in, because if you do that, you'll be disappointed every single time. I don't stand in the pulpit and preach like my sister that, because we have several ministers where I worship, and we're all associate ministers, and our pastors are very gracious and allow us to take the podium at different times. And so
Hmm.
I don't sound like my pastor as far as how I don't and do all of that. I want to talk to you and educate you when I stand in that space, how to have a healthy relationship with God and how to live freely. There's so many
Yeah.
people built it out by past mistakes, past hurts, or because they think they're living in sin because somebody told them that. Well, if you do this, you're living in sin. When we're all living in sin till the day we die,
Yeah.
you will not. be sin free, as long as you have flesh covering your soul and spirit, you're gonna
Yeah.
sin. You sin in your heart, your mind, and in action. So anybody that says they're sin free or they living without sin, they lying. Everybody sins. The
Yeah,
difference.
so sometimes, yeah, so because I know, like, with just different things and people that I've experienced, child, woo, these Christians can be some of the worst. God dang on hypocritical, most judgeful. I mean, y'all give us a
Mm-hmm.
heart of thumbs up and let us know if you're in here, okay? Like, what are your guys' thoughts? I do, like, sometimes I be like, damn, and these Christians be the worst ones. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they some of the ones that just can't forgive. They don't know how to. They hold grudges. They don't know how to let things go. They don't take ownership in self or what self does, but they able to tell everybody else what the hell is going wrong and what they should be doing, but they can't take a moment and look at their self. So it's like, for me, that whole just some of them Christians, they just
I call
it
them church
it it,
folk.
it kind of be like, well, who the hell are you praying to and going to on Sunday?
That's
Because
what
I don't see an ounce of change or nothing in you. You know what I mean? It's like, goodness gracious. And they be like, well, I'm going to pray for you.
mm-hmm.
Don't pray for me now because I don't know who you
And that is
praying to.
what you're supposed to
Yeah.
exactly. But right, because you have to pay attention to the way a person lives, speaks, and how they carry themselves, especially if they say that the Most High God is their God.
Yeah.
If I can't tell on your countenance that you serve an awesome God, 9 times out of 10, I won't visit your church. I I've been invited to a lot of different places to speak, to host, and MC. And if the spirit, if I don't feel the spirit is right or the manner that's, I won't go
Yeah.
because I have to protect my anointing. A lot of things I don't do and I don't participate in because I'm very sensitive to the atmosphere. Some
Mm-hmm.
people may not understand that not all ministers are prophetic, but I do operate in the prophetic when God calls me to. And I
Mm-hmm.
can be around someone and they not say a word, everything they're carrying in their spirit. And so that can be taxing. So I purposely don't do a lot and go to a lot of different places and functions. If my thing is, I should be able to tell that you do worship God on your face. Not to say every day you're going to walk around cheesing and smiling, but even if you're having a bad day, I still should be able to tell that the Most High God is your God. And a lot of times with the Christians, the ones that you mentioned, I want to ask you a question. Those ones that have the judgmental
Look, you asking me
statements
a
and
question. You asking me a question
compliments or insults.
and it's glitching. You hear me?
Okay,
Look, y'all know we experienced that
okay, it's
before.
glitching.
Usually,
Okay.
when it's some going on with the going on, it start being. Can you hear me?
Am I clear now?
Yeah, I can hear you
I can
now.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was asking those people that you had run-ins with. I wanted to ask, how was their physical appearance? Meaning, did they look healthy, well, or sick, or because
Um,
I'm gonna go somewhere with that.
I mean, they look. I don't know. Some look regular, some don't look right, and then for the most of the time, like with stuff like that, I usually just turn a blind eye because I don't really like to be contaminated. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. So
Mm-hmm.
like Ryan always says, which is true, energy is transferable. So it's like you could be having a
Yes, it
good,
is.
great, positive day, and somebody can walk into the room and it just sucks the life out of the room, and you like, my God, what is going on in
Mm-hmm.
here? So
Mm-hmm.
what I do, I just try to avoid it at all costs. Seriously, like, yeah,
That's good to do. But where I was going with that was a lot of those Christian or church people who are judging all the time, and like I said, always pointing out someone's sin and holding, won't forgive and whatnot. 9 times out of 10, they're normally sick in their body. If you pay attention, they
yeah,
have
they
some type of
yeah.
ailment that won't let them rest. They've got migraines, they've got spasms. All of that actually comes from the disgust within themselves, and they don't realize they're manifesting those illnesses within themselves because of the judgment and also because of the lack of forgiveness. And so
Yeah.
I'm very cautious around those type of folks as well. And with the transfer of energy, I wanted to just say that when that situation does happen, that you are present in that moment and just, like I said, speak out loud or, and say that energy is not coming for me. I reject it and I deflect it so it can go back over there where it came. So that way everyone else may be affected by the adverse energy from someone walking through the door, but you won't be. And then
Right.
remove yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. I've with everything that I do with the learning, the things that I'm learning, they definitely talk about that. Even with Dr. Joe Dispenza and all of them, they discuss those things of how your thoughts, your thoughts and all that. You make yourself sick, and you try not to understand, but you don't really understand because you're not trying to understand. But a lot of things we can and we do bring on ourselves. So that's yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying with that one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to get into
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to piggyback off of some of the conversation from Monday because we didn't get to hear so much from you or Trumanda. So I know we're gonna have to redo that again with the guys. And I must say, I love the conversation that you and Ryan were having. And I know that that is going to be such a great conversation when it's able to be had, properly, because it's good to hear different perspectives and where everyone comes from. So one of the things that was the topic on a previous show, as far as compatibility and all of that, was from the men's standpoint, they were saying that as a woman, who is seeking or looking for a person, a husband or so, you have to carry yourself a certain way. And y'all know y'all give us a hundred thumbs up, y'all here. I like to
Mm-hmm.
paraphrase. I like to paraphrase and chop it down to my understanding. And he was
You're breaking
saying,
up
can you
right
hear
now.
me? Oh, it's so ugly. It's so muffled right now. I don't know what that is. Can you hear me? Are we good?
I
I
can
don't
hear
know
you
what that is. Do
now.
y'all hear that crack, 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 crack? I don't know what it is. Every time I go to have a conversation with you, it don't want to go right.
Yes.
Yes. But so he was they were saying that,
Well,
he's like,
you know what that is.
yeah, I already know. That's why I'm trying to really ignore it. So he was talking and he was saying how, that you're not gonna he's not gonna bet and risk that you're the one for him if you're talking about you having a hot girl summer. He said, real ass about a nigga, and he was just saying that there's a difference between someone that wants a home base and someone that wants to just be around for a good time. So one of the guests that couldn't join, she told me to translate what she was saying too,
Right.
the one that was actually physically here, and she was saying that she understands where people come from, but she doesn't feel that social media and what you put on there is going to play a part in if a guy's going to take you serious or not. He got to want to take you serious if he wants to, not based off of what you're doing and how you're looking on social media. Can you hear me?
Well, no, I can hear you. I kind of agree with both of them, and it's because of the different, um, of course, being a woman, and I just thank God when social media came out, I was past my crazy stage, so it didn't make it online. So we're just gonna pray I don't go crazy and it go online later on. I could see where a man would uh, take a second, take a pause as far as considering dating someone that every time you go on their social media is something that would be considered raunchy or, as my people used to say, fast tailed and, just shaking her tail all the time. That is something to consider because that's the image that you are putting out to the world. So, and a man wants to be able to say that's my woman or that's my wife, and they, they want the woman in the street in the freaking sheets, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
don't want the freak to be showcased for everyone. So I can see where that would be cause for concern. But on the other hand, there's nothing wrong with appearing to be, free in your sexuality without showing all, giving up everything. So that's why I said I kind of agree with both. But
Yeah.
if it's an everyday, all day thing, you're exposing stuff and you're sitting with legs gaped open and whatnot. Yeah, I wouldn't want my brother to bring that home and say this your new sister-in-law. We want to sit down and talk and figure that out. Not to say that she's not a bad, not a wonderful person, because she could very well be the sweetest thing, and this could be her season to break out of being prude or being closed off, and she's trying something new. And so, because people grow and change, so I that's why I said I agree with both. I don't think it needs to be held to a certain standard to where it's a deal breaker, basically.
Yeah. Where it's a deal breaker. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me it just baffles me sometimes because I know people do the things that they do because that's something that they simply want to do. But my thing for that sometimes is like, okay, well, we could say these things and we can feel this way, but you will mess up your home base for the what we say, the Jezebel, for the one that's putting it all over the internet, for the one that's like the complete opposite of what you have. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
I definitely get what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying, but I can also understand for a woman's standpoint, whereas though it's like you sending me a goddamn mixed signal because you telling me that you want your wife or your woman to
Mm-hmm.
carry herself or your girlfriend to be this way, but if I keep catching you or you dealing with floozies, that's a whole nother way. I don't know what you want now at this point because I thought I had and was everything you wanted, and then you out here dealing with everything that's the complete opposite. So do y'all understand? It can be a little
Oh,
confusing.
I definitely understand. You just described, yeah, you just described. I'll be transparent. How my marriage ended. Um,
Okay.
or my husband. I mean, I'm not a bad looking girl. So they always say, "Girl, no, he didn't." Well, because I'm not what he was truly interested in. It
Okay.
wasn't that. Um, no, it was. I was not what he was truly interested in. And when I say that, when I look at the women that he was involved with, they look nothing like me, and I look, and there was no comparison. We
Mm-hmm.
had nothing in common. One woman, because one woman looked as if she was, drugged out,
Yeah.
um, emaciated, about 100 pounds, and another woman looked like Rasputia. Ain't nothing wrong with women that look like Rasputia, but I'm not Rasputia. So, and
Right.
I can't go from here to there. Yeah, I'm not going to be but I can see how that happens. And so he wanted the illusion of the good wife and the responsible wife, but he really wanted the, for lack of a better word, the hoe.
Yeah.
So regardless of what was going on, behind closed doors, because I carry myself one way when I'm out in public, and then at home, you can have the vixen. Hey, let's what we need to do. But that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
He wanted that at all times. So, or a whole bunch at all times. I don't know, but I wasn't his. He didn't have an interest in me.
No, no, I definitely know exactly what you mean. I've experienced that before, and that's why I say it can be rather confusing because as just as a woman, I don't really think that I know that men and women we think differently anyway. Just naturally we do, you guys. I'm sorry for all the glitching. We was on here talking about God and stuff, and the shit's been glitching ever since. But I'm gonna push through because y'all know I hate malfunctions. But you know what I'm saying? And
Ever since.
yeah, it can be very confusing because you can have that person. I think women are more content being in their relationships than it is than men are. And I think that a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times that you know,
Mm-hmm.
men, mainly men, because women, we're emotional anyway. But if really, you know, men, you know, and women who mess around too, knew really the damage that they cause
Mm-hmm.
when doing so, I think they would have a different perspective, you know, a different perspective on it. Because it's like you said, you were the good wife. You know, you were whatever,
Yeah.
everything you were. And he still did what he wanted to do. And
Right.
that's what it seems like.
Right.
It seems like that, you know, sometimes you'll have a good one at home, and but like you said, you're out in the street
Mm-hmm.
dealing with people who are the complete opposite of what you have. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
just like sometimes, like the things that I've learned, and even when me and my life coach talk, sometimes is like sometimes people aren't even able to recognize the blessings that are being sent to them. You know what I'm saying? The or the
Yeah.
people that, you know,
Yeah.
the universe is sending to them, to whether it be like Ryan said it a week ago. He was like, you know, a woman that is. He was saying that a man, you know, you should want that woman that's motivating you. You should want that woman that's going to inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
You should want that woman that's, you
They
know,
don't.
speaking life into you. And he was saying that if
Yes.
you're with anybody and they aren't doing these things for you, man or woman, that
Yeah.
shouldn't be your home. That shouldn't be where you want to be at. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Well, for this, if I could interject, um, with my particular situation, what I had paid attention to and started watching, for my husband, my ex-husband, a lot of his behavior, of course, was a lack of self-love. Number one. Number two, it was lack of the what we consider a good home dynamic, because he had both parents at home, very successful home. However, the parents did not have a good relationship, and the father was allowed. When I say allowed, because he was a habitual cheater, so that's why I say allowed. I told my ex mother-in-law, if you'd have hit some hot grits one time, I guarantee it'd have been the one time. It wouldn't have been habitual. But that's me. I digress. And that taught my husband that it's okay to have multiple women, because your good wife is going to stand by you and still be with you. And I would have to tell him repeatedly, we're not your parents, just on different fronts, before the cheating came out or whatever. But just the daily bickering, I don't want to bicker every day. If I want to be able to have a conversation with you, talk about my day, talk about different accomplishments. I want to be able to have an intellectual conversation with you daily, not bickering because you didn't get your way, or because
yeah.
whatever the situation is. Every day can't be an argument, so that's unhealthy. So that's why I said I was able to, I forgive him. I love him. He is family. We just can't be married. It doesn't mean that he doesn't like my version of forgiveness, but this is my version of forgiveness. My forgiveness is, I love you. I will continue to respect you, and we will be family. That's 11 years. But I don't have to allow you in my space or in this version of my life as I move forward. You had that opportunity. Is You have it no more, and I'm going to continue to do what I need to do and continue to progress and grow. But as far as holding a grudge and being angry with him, no. I did
Yeah.
the work so that I wouldn't be bitter. I did the work so that I could heal quickly. I didn't want to be 2 years still angry and still talking about. I can laugh about it now,
Yeah.
because I got to see some of the women, and I just went, "Wow, well, go for what you know, boo. I want everybody to be happy. You're not
Yeah.
happy,
Yeah.
it's okay." But um, and so the realization for him that the divorce, is going forward, and I'm chasing peace, I'm chasing joy, I'm chasing love, and that goes to show me being a minister, because remember they say God, don't want you to divorce. All this other stuff. Well, God probably didn't want me to marry him in the first place, because it may not have been who he had for me. I
Yeah.
chose him.
Yeah.
The words, let what God put together, let no man put asunder. Well, I don't believe God put us together. Otherwise, it would have been smooth and some bumps, because no relationship is just smooth and easy, but it's not. So my pastor always says there is no struggle in God, and there isn't. you're going to go through times of tribulation or light afflictions, because if it's not unto death, then it's a light affliction. So you're going to be uncomfortable, or something may irritate you, but you can still push through it. But if you are fighting every day just to say hi to the person you're married to, that's not healthy. That's not love. And God don't want you living like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I put in 11 years. I did work. I did what God told me to do. He didn't honor the marriage, so God released me. And it is what it is. But some men won't allow you to help them to progress. Some men won't allow you to pour into them, because it looks like, I don't need help from no woman. Well, yeah, you do. That's why God sent Eve to be a helpmate.
Yeah.
And they don't want our help. Some of the men. When I say they, I'm
Yeah,
not trying to
yeah,
put everybody.
I can see that too, and that's what we were talking about last week. Before we get to the comments, because Nicholas has a comment. You guys give us a heart and a thumbs up if you are here with us. Thank you, and share the show. So that's something that Ryan and I were talking about before, and we also touched on it on Monday. Is the how long are you supposed to wait for your partner to get it right? You know what I'm saying? Like how
Right.
how how much are you supposed to endure for your person to get it right? And it's like it can be very, very tricky. And I'm a person where y'all know I'm always transparent. I've battled with that before. You know what I'm saying? I've battled with that, and it's like, I stayed in a 17-year relationship that
Yeah.
shouldn't even have lasted 20 minutes. You know, you know what I mean? But I wanted it to last. But at the same time, like you said, you can sit back and we can laugh about some of the things today, where I'm like, I have no idea. But I do remember one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the things that he did said to me, that he said to me, that I can say that it was hurtful to hear, even though I know it was true. But then I'll tell why it was hurtful to hear,
Mm-hmm.
because when somebody is letting you know that it is not you, okay, and that you are not the problem, and that they are the problem,
Right.
that shit hits you a little different.
Right.
It hits you a little different,
Yeah.
because it's like it puts a dent in everything that you would be thinking, which is what we go through. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what did I not do this? What I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing this? What did you not like this? What my hair wasn't done too
Right.
many times? What I didn't have on makeup too much? All those things that I know that a lot of people don't like to really, out loud admit. But when somebody messes around on you, or when somebody tells you the truth with anything, it it affects you. It may not always
Oh,
affect you
absolutely.
in a bad form, but it's like, damn. So I remember one thing he said to me. He said, you are you're a great mother, and you are the perfect girlfriend. Now, mind you, he shouldn't have waited 17 years to tell me this shit, because I'd have been left. You know what I'm saying? Because every time that I did break away and I was gone, he would come back and grab me and swoop me back in. And y'all know how that whole cycle starts over, right? But he said to me, he said, you are the perfect girlfriend, and you are a great mother. Like, relationship wise though, I have no issues with you at all. But for me, he said, I think you are perfect for somebody that wants that in their person. You know what I mean? Like, do you know how, like, that can really be like, what? Like what I'm saying? Like a wowzer moment.
Mm.
So you're telling me I'm great, and you're telling me that it's not me, that it's you,
Yeah.
and that I'm good for somebody that wants that. But like you said, we look at the people that they deal with, and it's like, so you want that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which in all
Because they
actual
feel they deserve you.
yeah. So which was in all actuality is the young lady that he had ended up with, um, was the complete opposite of me. You know what I'm saying? And when we used to have conversations, he was like, the shit that me and her do together, the things that we do, I wouldn't dare want you to do it. So this is why I said that sometimes, if I didn't grow, you know what I'm saying, and if I didn't take any accountability for even placing myself in that situation, because he didn't put a gun in my head and make me stay with him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do that. But it's just like, oh my God,
Right.
that
Right.
whole "it's not you, it's me" thing, that shit is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, in some instances, it's real.
It is.
And then when you come across that, it's like, you've got
Well,
to be shitting me. Huh?
no, I was laughing, but I was saying a lot for him. I can't say for him, but what I'm hearing when he said that, because a lot of black men, and my heart goes out to black men. I love my black men. I support them as much as I can, and I try to build them up as much as I can. Seriously, they have a lot of, lack of a better word, crap, because I can't think of another word right now, that they're already dealing with by just being a black man born in America. For those that were born here, that are ancestors of slaves, you know what I'm saying? So they're already dealing with the negativity, that can sometimes come with who we are. And then maybe he's not where he wants to be in life with his education or his profession,
Mm-hmm.
or lack of a relationship with family. All of that plays on top of, men were taken from the women, right away, and when our ancestors were living in slavery, they broke up the black family home to where there was no real male presence. And a lot of our brothers are fighting to find their place, and also fighting to be able to stand in it rightfully and feel respected, in that space with whomever they're with. So they carry all this baggage that they don't even know that they're carrying. And so to come across a wonderful, vivacious, vibrating woman, and after he should have told you right away, but 17 years, he's like, I can't give her anything else. I can't help her be greater. She wants to do all these things, and I don't really want to do it, and I don't want to hold her back, but I guess I'm gonna have to go ahead. That's what I'm hearing, because it didn't sound like he didn't love you. It just sounded like
Well, he loved
he
me.
knew
He loved me the way
he
he
couldn't
could.
give you what you need.
Yeah, he loved me the way that he could.
Exactly, and
So
that is okay, right? And that's okay. Like I told, for instance, I told my ex-husband, if all you have is A, B, and C for me, that is your very best. I'm grateful for that. However, I need J, K, L, X, Y, and Z. That
yeah,
doesn't mean, you're in the best, but this is what I need over here in order for me to feel secure and me to feel loved. This is before all the other stuff, but because he kept saying, I'm loving you the best way that I can. And I appreciate that. That doesn't mean your best isn't good enough. It's not what I need to help me get to where I want to go.
and
Because we
yeah,
do, like we
yeah.
were saying the other night, you have to grow.
No, I was saying, yeah, that's true. And some of the other things too is saying sometimes "I love you" means goodbye. You know what I'm saying? Like, I,
Yeah.
I love
Mm-hmm.
you. I love you enough, and I have to release
Yeah.
you for that. And and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
with stuff like that, and it can be really hard. And I think that I believe everybody deals with that. As Coach, Nicholas, Coach Nick Love is in the building. He's a dating coach, and he always says that when there are those things being done, he calls them character defects. Like, there is something always wrong
Mm-hmm.
with the person that is doing those things. And it did take years. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be honest as I can, because when I did have this conversation with him, I'm gonna keep it a bean. Some people just not meant to be in relationships. I feel that way. Some people just are not meant to be in relationships. They're gonna just keep making a trail of
Mm-hmm.
broken hearts. But he did. He said that he thought that being a man, because he didn't have a good role model, but he thought that it was, having the multiple women, having the money, and just being able to manage this house, that house, and doing all of these things. So he did what he could, and he was saying that he went to, like, therapy before, and she had helped him learn that, he would have been, and could have given him everything he wanted, but it was him. in his own way. So it's so and of course when he said that, I was just like, okay, cool, that's dope. That's not something I didn't know. But of course the interest is gone. I no longer want you, dude. You know what I mean? And needless to say, it's just funny because we went through a lot, and then the person that he had ended up being with, he's not even any longer with them. So it'd be funny because it's like
Yeah.
if I didn't grow, if I would have held on to all of that, I wouldn't even be where I am today. It be the person. So that's why I made the title like elevation requires separation, because sometimes you can't
Yeah.
see why things are going the way that they're going sometimes. Like whenever you're in the midst of anything, it's hard. It's like you can't see the forest through the trees. But if you hold on a little bit, and,
Right.
and let everything go the way it's gonna go, then you'll understand later on, like, therefore, you can't be with him. Just like with just the lane that I'm choosing to be in now. I can't be with you and you out here messing around and the paparazzi get a hold of it. You know what I mean? Then they Will Smith and Jada and me and Cardi B and everybody taking pictures. Like, that shit is humiliating in so many forms. So it's like, I understand why
Yes.
I'm not with this man. Because I'd have been drugged all through TMZ, okay? I'd have stayed on the shade room every day if I was with this man. So it's just sometimes you don't get to see why things go the way they do until it's over. Until it's over.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go to the
Absolutely.
comments. So Nicholas, he said
Absolutely.
right here, I
And
pulled up.
for instance, my yes,
Yeah, it's his comment. He said, did you take that into consideration before you married him? The lack of self love and the dysfunctional family dynamics.
oh, absolutely not, because they didn't present that in the beginning. Honey, he got past my mama. If you can get past my mama, you good to go as far as being able to date and be with me. Because my mama didn't like nobody, God rest her soul. She gave everybody a hard time. Nobody was good enough, not the doctor's assistant, not the military dude. Nobody was good enough. It didn't matter who I brought home, but they didn't present that right away. He didn't,
Mhm.
he made sure that he did and said everything to be able to um,
Pass the
be
test.
with me or whatnot. I'm very different from anybody he's ever been with. Um, we're just different. I'm from Texas. He's from California. Um, I'm pretty much straight laced as far as the way that I was brought up. Um, outside of some other stuff, and he is a former gang banger, Skyline Paru. Okay, and I didn't know what that was. I watched the episode of Gangland one day after I had met him and he told me, and we were already conversing, and I said that's how long ago it was, and it was Gangland, and I said, oh my God, this is where he's from. This is who is this? Because
Right,
that's not what
right.
he presented.
Yeah.
I mean, because they were saying words I didn't know what words were, and the gang's lingo. Him and his brothers would talk, and so yeah, it was a whole nother language. But no, he didn't present any of that. The family didn't present any of that until about 9 months, 18 months, about a year and a half in that I started kind of, you know, giving the side eye, like, well, what was that about? It
Yeah.
wasn't always, like I said, right up front, it wasn't. He spent time with me and my kids, took care of issues with my vehicle. I mean, he just made sure that he was that guy, that he was totally into me and my kids and whatnot, as far as being a good role model. But pastor always says you can only live outside of yourself but for so long, and then the real you shows up. And
Yeah,
that's
and
what
that's
happened.
and that's what Coach always says. He always says crazy can't hide in the closet longer than 10 minutes. And that's funny that you said that, because I always be telling him, like, Coach, no, Coach. Sometimes some people are just that good where they can hold and keep up an appearance
Yeah.
for some years
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. You know what I'm saying? even though it's like, well, there was, it's like, well, there weren't any signs, or you didn't know, you can't know. Sometimes I believe you can and you do turn a blind eye, or you don't see it. But if you have no reason to question anything, certain things you just not gonna pay attention to, or is even gonna come to your mind. You don't start to question things
Right.
until things happen.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And that's actually what happened, because I feel like it was right after we said I do, honestly, that the sweet nice guy, packed his stuff and left, and the a-hole showed up and was like kicking his feet up, like, I ain't going nowhere, like Snoop Dogg on Baby Boy. He
Yeah.
just came in.
Yeah.
Set up shop. And so and he thought that because I yeah, he did, and he knew, but he knew that I valued marriage and I valued my relationship with God. And so, because there's a lot of women that just want to be married and they're happy with just being married. But for me, it wasn't about being married. It was about being married in life and, going through this journey. I don't
Yeah.
want to just have your name and the title. There's more that comes with that. That's a very heavy title to have. And a lot of people, like, they jump into it too quickly. And that wasn't necessarily the case with us, but it wasn't his ideology of marriage, because his father, like I said, got to do whatever he wanted. And, as long as his mom could shop, they were good. Okay, that's not going to work for me. I need more. I need depth. And so he only provided it when he wanted to. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that he could do consistently.
So did you so he asked a question. He said he was a thug. He
Are
was
there
a
any?
he said, I put him on the screen. He said he was a thug, he was a gangbanger. That wasn't a red flag.
First of all, let me say something. We're not going to put thugs and gangbangers in a box, because anybody can change if
Yeah.
they do the work.
Yeah.
I've got uncles that were in prisons and come
Yeah.
out. I've got family members that are from the streets that will shoot you down dead. Like I said, I didn't grow up in the church. My
Yeah.
family is from the streets. So there, no, that's not alarming to me.
Yeah.
My cousin around the corner is a gangbanger right now. I can call. I ain't gonna say his name, but if it's something needs to go down, and I'm
Yeah.
feeling like I'm in danger, I can call my cousin, who will take care of whatever needs to be. So no, that's not a red flag. And plus, it said former, not current. Had he
Mhm.
been a current thug and gangbanger, he would not have been for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
not.
that
But
is true.
anybody can rehabilitate.
Yeah, that is, and I definitely agree with that as well, because you do have, like, I've had uncles and everything, and stuff like that too, because people change their lives. Some people change their lives. Some don't. So that was one of the things that was an issue with me in my former life when I was in law enforcement. It was like you're almost, not me, but for the majority, like, you are almost like brainwashed, you know what I'm saying, to thinking that change is not possible. No one can change. And if he went to jail
Right,
today and he comes back 10 years later,
right,
he's still the same person. So that's why it was always a conflict in my spirit with that, is because I am some persons that can believe people can change, and I've seen people change, and I know people, like, some people could be great fathers, but shitty husbands. You know what I'm saying? Great, great friends and a horrible
right.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think that it's a big, huge umbrella, and it
Right,
can go a whole bunch. It can go a whole bunch of ways, because and then you just have some people who just can give you that. They're good at it. You know what I'm saying? And we hear we hear the stories all the time about the women who were with guys and didn't know that the guys was messing with the kids, or was with, men, and you didn't know that the man was beating her up every day, or or you're able to have an addiction and go to work and still you're functioning addicts and things like that. Like, I had a conversation with a lady
Yeah.
who was
Yeah.
like, she didn't even know that her husband had an issue with gambling, because they had money, but because he was, everything that was important was taken care of. Like, they didn't have late bills, they didn't get foreclosures, the bills are not. So
Yep.
it's definitely layers and levels to to a lot of things, and you can't specifically say it this way. You know what I mean? Because I know, some people in my family who fell in love with inmates, and they've come home, married them, and they freaking lived happily ever after, and never did anything that what they went in there for. So I definitely don't think that you can judge a person based upon their past, or their lifestyle, and say, well, I know you're going to be this because this is what your past says about you. Because if that's the
Absolutely.
case, a lot of us wouldn't be with a lot of people these days. Because in my past, I was a
Mhm.
pimp. Once upon a time, I ain't gonna lie. Like, it took a certain kind of person to get me to sit still. I'm not gonna lie. But you know what I mean? Truly, because it was like, people out here ain't doing, the people, it's like, people aren't out here doing anything. They're just going out here leaving a trail of broken hearts. So it's like, before you sit up here and I even get all wrapped up into you, let me see what I'm going to get what I need and keep it moving, because you ain't it, because you're not making me want to sit still. You know what I mean? And calm me. But like I said, I grew up, and I no longer, I put my pimp hat down. Yeah, you know what I mean? And when I started pouring more into myself, my some of my experiences changed. So I definitely think self growth and elevation is very important, because yes, I get it. Like you said, he said intuition, that's a gift from God. Yes, I definitely do believe intuition is a gift from God, but I believe we all have ignored our intuition one time or another. Case in point for me, is
Mhm.
one of the things that we talk about on the dating shows, is how, infidelity and things is not everybody's deal breakers and things like that in their marriages, and some people can come back from that. Whereas though sometimes you'll ignore your intuition because you're trying to wish for the best, because you want it to get better, because you think you can change a person, until you realize that you can't change nobody. They gotta want to do it themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, not only that, I do agree with that, but not only that, when, because we were talking about this on my, like, some people begin to evolve in the relationship. So it's not even that it was an intuition being ignored. It was your eyes wasn't open to what could have been an issue. But because if you are doing self growth, or for instance, God just opens your eyes and shows you something, because sometimes your eyes are closed. There's a veil over your eyes that everybody else can see what's wrong with this person, but you.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that you don't even have it. You don't even have the awareness. So it's not even about the intuition or the little calling or the tug, because if God didn't open your eyes to it, you're not going to see it. Not all relationships, are just, not all relationships that ended are horrible. Every relationship, every situation, every scenario, there's a lesson to be learned in it. So, and it depends on how long it takes to learn the lesson. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like, okay, it took a certain amount of time, because there might have been another issue you were dealing with in the relationship that you
Yeah.
couldn't see issue 3 because you were dealing with issue 5. You see what I'm saying? There might
Yeah.
have been micro issues going on that you couldn't see, one that would eventually break the relationship.
Yeah. No, that goddamn it, that is true, and that's why they have the show called Snapped, because some people goddamn snap. You know what I mean? It's like when the wool is taken off your eyes and you realize that a person is not
Yes,
who or what they said. Oh my
yes,
God, the way that plays on your psyche. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
Oh my God. So that's why maybe I have to touch on
Yeah.
that next week too. Because it's layered. It's so far layered that I don't even think that people even understand just the backside. Like I always said, we always talk about, what goes on and how you feel and the emotions that you go through during a breakup and how you feel when you find out things are happening, but you very, very seldom hear the actual conversation of that, what people have with themselves, the battling, the up at night, the constant trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
things out. It affects you in different ways, and you just have to be able to
Yeah.
try to get a hold of it, because everybody always like to be like, oh, I just leave, oh, I this da, 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 da. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. It wouldn't be all these crazy relationships, you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be all of this stuff. But a lot of the times, a lot of people too, like Ryan
Yeah.
touched on some weeks ago, some people,
Right.
all they saw was their family or their mother or grandmother taking care of a man. So that's all they want to do, regardless of if he got a job or not, regardless if you're happy or not. It's like, I'm staying because grandmama and all of them stayed, and we're gonna sleep in two different beds, and we're gonna raise these children, and that's what it's gonna be. And you see that and you think like, okay, long as the family's together. And it's like, no, that shit is not okay. That's not okay. It's not okay. But you know, to each his own. Everybody got different things that they go deal with. I know sometimes it's hard for me, goddamn it, to follow my own stuff sometimes. But in the midst of those things, I am a person where I'm always evaluating. Elevation requires separation. Like, I'm always trying to, I like, okay, what did you miss? Where was it? What's going on? What can you do better with yourself, with self? Not the person or the people involved, but what is it that you can do for you? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to get through it? How are you going to heal from it? What are you going to learn? You know what I mean? So I think that a lot of times, if we take those self assessments in the middle of chaos and trauma of whatever it may be, eh, then digesting what's going on would be a little smoother, and it won't be the blame game, if that makes sense.
Mm. Oh, it makes a ton of sense, and that's when you have a mature relationship, though. When you can sit down and have that conversation. That's why I strongly believe in counseling. I strongly believe in therapy, because number one, you have an outside person, who doesn't have any relationship. They can give their opinion to help without. Um, like your mother can never be your counselor. Sometimes your pastor can't even be your counselor if one person in the relationship is more active in the church than the other one doesn't want to go. Well, that's your path. So it's always good to find somebody that doesn't have any opinions, but that can help you see something from a different perspective and where the other person is coming from. Because sometimes when we're in relationships, our emotions are so heightened that we can't fully hear what the need is of the person. I
Yeah.
know that, in my, like I said, he wasn't, just torn up from the floor or whatnot. I made mistakes in the marriage and it wasn't perfect all the time. But the thing was, we went to the counseling, we did the work, and it did help to see what could be different, what could change, or how to fight fair, how to learn to agree just to disagree and things like that. Now, again, you may have a partner, they don't want to do that. Those are the things you have to consider. If they don't want to work towards bettering this thing that you have, then do you stay or do you go? And that goes back into what you were saying. How long do you give your partner um, the opportunity to either get it together, poop, or get off the pot? Is what we say down here in Texas. Um, that's up to the person that is in the, because some people really love their relationships. They love the person they're with and they do want to go forward. They do want to elevate. And so they don't know how to navigate that and still be married. I have one of my spiritual mothers, when she began to elevate in her walk with God, it took her out of the church she was in because they were not relationship based with God. They were religious. And we were talking about this the other day. God is not religious. He's not traditional. People think that he is, but he isn't. He only wants certain attention from you. And her husband didn't want anything to do with that. He wanted to continue to go to his regular old Baptist church and listen to the organ and do, in which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the route he wanted to continue to go. Well, she didn't divorce her husband. She didn't, they hit a bump. They didn't have they had a season of roughness, but they worked it out, and she continued to elevate, and she's doing great, and she's mentoring and speaking engagements and whatnot, and she still has her marriage. Her husband respects the walk that she's on, and she respects the walk that he's on, but they continue to work together to so that their marriage will elevate. He may not, because everybody's not going to go where you go, and
Yeah.
elevation does require separation. The
Yeah.
higher you go, they say, the longer you are, and it is very, very true. It is
Oh my
very, very
gosh,
true because
yes,
people
it
aren't
is.
understand your vision. Yeah, they're not going to understand your vision. They're not going to understand your desires and or the things that God places in your spirit to take off and do something different because it's different. A lot of people, people don't like change or they don't want you to do anything different because it's going to take you from them, and you won't have as much time and space to spend with them. So that's something also to think about. But there's always an opportunity again for a relationship to work when you're trying to elevate. But if you've got that one with their feet stuck in the ground with some cement, then you do have to make that decision. When do I cut them loose? And it's painful. It's not like you want to, but you still you want to be able to go forward in your life and do great things on whatever level that is for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is definitely that is definitely true. You know what I'm saying? Like you just sometimes you can want the best and wish for the best and pray that everything works out. And then like we said earlier, sometimes the solution, the only solution is to leave
Mm-hmm.
and to walk away. Like is my life coach always tell me when it's hurting, when it begins to hurt you to be there,
Yep.
when it is no longer fun, when it's no longer that thing that got it to get there, you might want to look at that because that might be time to part ways. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with that.
Well,
Elevation
you will
requires,
have dry spells.
huh? What you say?
I would say in relationships, though, you can have dry spells. In
Yeah,
relationships, you can have dry spells, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, separate and break up. But what we're talking about, then that may be the case.
yeah,
But because you're never going to just be happy go lucky and love every single day, the way you
yeah,
chew is really getting on my nerves right now. I need you to go chew and eat the next row, especially with the pandemic and everybody stuck. So you really got to know folks during that time. But
yeah.
so yeah, I did want to point that out. Not all, not it doesn't always have to end in separation.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there are ways
They
to
know
still
you
navigate it.
yeah, you know the difference. They know the daggone difference. You know versus which one is growing and don't need to end in separation, and the ones that got daggone do, y'all. Y'all are very smart.
Exactly. 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 Because but what we're wanting to go, for instance, me eventually navigating this transitioning from married to single has been difficult. It's been ugly. It's been hurtful.
Hmm.
There were times where I had to talk with God, and I said, "Look, I did what you told me to do." And I thought, because this was what I thought God was going to do, was going to, just heal my marriage, and it was going to be all this great and whatnot. And that wasn't the case because I had to do what I was called to do. So when I thought that God was going to fix my marriage and we were going to be together forever, and I saw things steady going bad and things not lining up, I'm doing what you told me to do. You said if I do this, you'll do that. And God said, no, I simply told you to honor your marriage and to do what's right. Or because God had told me to get my marriage right, or He was going to remove my covering. There was another situation, and I didn't want to be married anymore. Just I didn't want to do it because it had been going on for so long. And so when he told me to stay and make it work, I was so angry, but I did. And I made sure I was like Betty Crocker and Claire Huxtable and all of this stuff, and it still wasn't making them happy. I said, hey, I did what you told me to do now. So you're gonna have to figure something out because you got to honor my prayers too. I want to be happy as well. And so he just started revealing stuff. And he, the marriage has been dissolved, but it has been very ugly. I'm finally at a place where my healing has manifested, and ready to see what else is to be offered and be able to
Yeah.
help people navigate through whatever situations are. And love is still beautiful. God is still good. I'm no bitterness, no anger, not carrying nothing into the next situation should God allow. But I love love. I love marriage. I love my Black men. And I'm always going to be a supporter and an encourager and builder, and pour into the next person. So it just has to be the one whose vessel is empty that wants to be filled.
Yeah, that's all you can do. That's what. So I would say, you guys, before we gotta hear the moral of the night show is, find that vessel that wants to be filled. straight, straight up.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you're doing most of the pouring and your glass is always left empty, you might want to rethink the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
because they got to be able to pour back into you,
Yes. So thank you for joining me tonight. Even though I know we had so many glitches, so y'all know I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna keep on going and doing it until we get this right, because seriously, it seems like every time that here recently that I have done a show, or a show is being talked about, where God is present or somebody is speaking with a bunch of sense. It has been so many glitches. It's okay when I'm by myself, but when I have other people in it, it'd be like, shh. But that's all right. We gonna get it together. It's live. It's not edited. This is raw, uncut, unfiltered footage, and this is what it looks like. And if you're complaining about my system and you don't like it, you can always freaking donate and help me better it. How about that? Well, then say, don't complain about it if you don't have a solution. God damn it.
Cash App.
Yes.
Cash App. Right now.
Yes.
I'm going to put the plug in. Send her some money right now. $5, $10, it all adds up. Cash App right now.
Yes. $1, $2, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But because I'm just glad. Like I always tell everybody, it definitely takes a village, and I'm so excited with the growth and how everything has been going with the show and things like that. And only more will be revealed and more will come. And I'm just glad that the shift is occurring, that I actually want to take place. So you guys, I know I haven't been in the groups a whole lot, but I'm telling you, I'm about to be right back at it. So whenever I disappear, I'm always there in the background or popping in, but I've been working on different things. So that's what happens. Also, if you know anyone that is interested in being an assistant and an intern, or of some kind, they have a skill, whether it's wanting to be a personal assistant, whether it's wanting to start and learn how to do that talk show, learning different equipment and different do's and don'ts to do that, let me know. You can send them on over to me, but also you can also go over to the YouTube channel, where I also put those things on there as well. So I have a lot of shows, a lot of different things I've been doing that I have to post. But some of them, majority of some of the things, you guys, when I went on my little hiatus for the summer of the vacation, will be placed on Dream Big, Dream Catchers. That's the YouTube channel, and all of those things. That's where a lot of this stuff will be, and you will get to see it. And I'm excited for you guys to be able to get along and see what I got going on. So until next time, I am Miss Vibrations, your hostess with the mostest, with lovely Kizzy, all the way from Texas. Thank you for joining me tonight and making the conversation great. And we will see you guys next week and on Monday for the Speak Easy Show. See you.